Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial from careervfx.net. And this is the basic series tutorial, and we continue. And this time we are talking about animation. So we talked about a little about keyframing, which is the core inside After Effects. And animation is basically what most developers, users use After Effects for, because this is here where it really excels. So let's start by creating a new comp, Control N. We just call it comp 1. So here in our comp window, let's bring in, let's just bring in a layer, a solid. So Control Y, 200 pixels times 200 pixels. Okay. So now we have a blue square, which is solid, and you can use any layer. You can import whatever you want, images, footage, whatever. This is just for the purpose of the tutorial I want to show you. Also keep in mind, when you import assets, make a nice workflow by over in the project panel. You can right click, choose new folder. You can call this images. You can make a new folder called this footage, and so on. And when you have one of the folders clicked and you press Control I, or file, import file, then it will be imported into that folder. We can also make a folder named comps and remove the comp inside of that, just to keep things organized. Okay, so let's talk about animation in After Effects. So right now we have a blue square here, and this blue square is the solid we have here in the timeline. So if I click on it and move it around, yeah, basically that's what it does, just move it around. So let's put it up here. Let's say fit. So right now it's up in the left corner. Let's make some more room here. What about the standard? Yeah, much better. Okay, so we are at keyframe 0. Sorry, not keyframe. We are at frame 0, as you see here by the timeline, and we want to make a keyframe here for the position. Remember, all these, if you twirl down the parameters and the transform properties, all of these stopwatches you can keyframe, so you can animate them. So let's say, look at when I move it here. Look at the X and Y axis. See how they move? When I drop them, I can move the timeline. Nothing's gonna happen because we haven't keyframed it yet. So let's say we want to move from left to right. So let's keep it here, this solid, and hit the stopwatch. That generates a keyframe. Move to frame 101. Then you can either move it yourself or just use the sliders in the X, Y, and you can also enter values in here. So for example, we want to go to the right here. Now we have created what's called a motion path. So let's go back and play the animation. Yeah, that's exactly what we created. Animation that goes from left to right. So when you create an animation, it creates, of course, a couple of keyframes, and this is the keyframes we have right now. And the start and stop, there's a straight line here, and this is called the motion path. These handles you have here, this red dot here and this one, these are auto bases, and that means the handle, so you can actually modify the motion path by holding down the handle and then drag it and modify it up or down. This will just make a more smooth curve to your animation. Release it, go back, hit the spacebar. So that's another way of talking about animation, that you can actually play with these handles, and make a really cool animation. You can also, at this point here, move the keyframes you just set, so it would either extend your footage or shorten it. These transform properties are applicable to every effect, every layer, everything you put in here will have these transform property as standard. These are all keyframeable. So these are come in handy if you remember these. So the shortcut for anchor point would be A, shortcut for position would be P, shortcut for scale is S, shortcut for rotation is R, and then the one, which one is the one that is not straightforward, the shortcut for opacity is T. So if you twirl down, twirl up the transform properties and hit A, anchor point will come, P, position will come, T, opacity. If you want multiple transform properties shown at the same time, when you hit, for example, let's twirl up again, you hit P, you want the position and you want the scale, then hold down shift and hit S, then scale also is available for you. And as we talked about in previous lesson, if you had multiple keyframes on different properties, you just hit U, and then all the keyframes will be shown. Also, something mentioned to talk about is that these keyframes we created here, this type is called spatial keyframe types. So the best way to describe that is like the position keyframes in a comp view, which is this view here, are referred to as spatial keyframes, as they define where the layer is supposed to be in space at a given time. How the motion path flows into and out of a spatial keyframe is also important and can be deciphered both by looking at the path itself and by looking at a selected spatial keyframe. So the default spatial keyframe type is autobase here. It is indicated by two dots in a straight line. We had the dots here and here, and we had a straight line before at either side of the keyframes. This means After Effects will automatically create a smooth bend through this keyframe. Dragging one of these dots results in the keyframe being converted into a continuous biser type, indicated by a straight line handle that connects the dot. You can drag this handle to control how the motion path flows, and which is exactly what we did with the handles we have up here, these long ones. These are the handles. And if you want to create a sudden change in direction at the keyframe, hold down G and drag one of the handle dots to break their continuous nature. You can then drag the handles of this basic keyframes independently. To create a hard corner without a curve or handles, hold down G and click the keyframe's vertex itself to convert it to a linear keyframe. So if we hold down G and press it, now it becomes a linear keyframe again. And of course, this was the position we play with. Let's say you did it with the scale. So while it's traveling here, scale is maybe 20, and then while it travels up to its endpoint here, it will go up to 100 again, and you can go past 100, of course, 100%. So let's see, and hit space on the keyboard. Yeah, let's see, you created a couple of those. Go back here, and then with the top one, move that a little bit here. The next one, move that up here, and let's try offset the layers itself like this. Now hit the spacebar. You see this? You can really create some cool animation. I mean, you can put everything in. You can also, you know, put 3 more in there and then reverse the layers. And they end up the same place. And if you press down all of them with the shift, so you select all of them and hit U, then you have all of their keyframes visible for you. And you can actually also modify things in here, like move keyframes. This is for the scale, this is for the position. You can even go and right click, just click the one of the layers and go up to layers, solid setting, change that color to yellow, change the second one, layer solid setting, to let's say pink. New. Let's see if we add some blur on them. And remember, it doesn't mean that just because we enable this button, the blur won't be visible until we hit the main button. This is enable motion blur for the comp. So let's see if that did anything. If we choose them again, U, and took the position keyframes, move that, move that, move that. Yes, there is actually some, I don't know if you can see it, but there is actually blur there. Let's see if we remove the blur effect. You see that, how sharp it is now? So the blur definitely does kick in place. That actually created a nice outline. Let's look at it again. See that? Nice animation. Let's try the reverse layer, what I meant before. So let's twirl up these three and select them all, Control D. So now we have 3 more. So now there's 6 in total. Let's try with these 3 that's selected. Right click them. Is it actually time reverse layer? Here. So these 3 reverse the layer settings, and the first 3 one are just normal. So let's play and see what's gonna happen now. Hit the U. So these are over here and coming back the other way. You see that? So what we can do with those we just selected, let's move all of their keyframes. Yeah. Now play. Pretty interesting look, actually. You could really create some cool commercials here, or even, you know, some cool transition effects. So there's really lots of cool stuff you can do with just animating stuff. Remember, and this was just, you know, we played with the scale, we played with the position. You can play with all the parameters you have inside After Effects. So you apply an effect and animate that. One last thing I also want to show you regarding animation is that let's just check and delete all of these. Create a new solid. Move it up here. So let's see. There's a window, and then there's something called motion sketch. This is also another cool thing in After Effects. So with the motion sketch selected here. So with the motion sketch selected over here, then select your layer. Okay, so with the window and the motion sketch selected here, then choose your layer, hit start capture, and then draw your shape. Look what happens. It's gonna create a motion path for you. This is what the motion sketch does. Holding down the mouse button and release here. Now it created a path for you. So if you hit the spacebar, it's gonna travel that path you just created. So this is also handy for making some really custom lines, some custom effects. Could be anything from typewriting, you know, to graffiti wall, anything here. Hit the U, and then you can see create all these position keyframes for the position. So pretty handy tools, pretty straightforward. So thank you guys for watching this short tutorial regarding animating. I mean, that's tons of stuff you can do, but it's just to, you know, touch ground, touch the basics. So see you in the next lesson. Have fun, guys.